dance lives up to its name, I thought, as I made my way up the damp concrete slabs, bridging across the stagnant pond. Everywhere leading up to the ashen, decrepit house was lined by rotten flowers and the congealed feces of cats, dogs, and other animals. The water itself looked like it had remained the same for centuries. This place is dead as I am. I arrived at the door, wore a collection of damp splinters, and hesitantly pushed it open, causing the hinges to shriek. No, no more shrieking, please. The inside was as drab and oppressive as the outside, and my nostrils filled with the scents of mold and neglect and regret. Or maybe it's just me. I hadn't showered in days. I couldn't face the water. There was what appeared to be some kind of waiting area. 3 or 4 old wicker chairs and one of those "please be seated" signs you find in posh restaurants. So, looking around for the slightest bit of human company, I sat down and waited. Despite myself, my wallet found its way into my hands. Then the picture of M I kept in there found its way in front of my eyes. I could never throw this away, no matter how many times I told myself to, for the sake of my own sanity. But I couldn't. This was all I had left of her fair white skin and pale blue eyes, and ginger hair I'd tease her about, and the freckles on her face and chest. She was beautiful. I tried to correct myself to the present tense, but I couldn't. I'd never forget the day the last of that ginger hair fell out. A cough brought me back to reality. I looked, blinking back tears, to see an old man, bald and bearded, stooped over, grinning through a mouth of yellow teeth. His clothes were as grey and wiry as the hairs on his face, like he was grey water gardens in human form. Even his right eye was grey. The left was just a black, empty socket, with the eyelids hanging over it forlornly. "You have an appointment," he spoke, like he hadn't used his voice in years. "Yes, I have a secret. I want to deposit it." "I know you do," he said. He let me grasp for words, wondering how the hell he knew, when he said, "You wouldn't be here for any other reason now, would you?" He turned and beckoned me to follow him into the back room. I gazed at the picture of M one last time. "I love you." Then I slid it back into my wallet and did as I was bid. The back room was more of the same, grey, wet, rotting, and horrid. The only remarkable feature was the huge, hefty ledger on an antique wooden table, next to a plain steel chalice, and in the middle of the room was a concrete pool, only a few feet across, filled with the same stagnant grey water from the ponds outside. The old man opened the ledger. "You wish to deposit a secret?" he asked, perhaps as a formality, or maybe he's playing with me. "Yes," I said. "Your name?" I told him. "Excellent, then let's begin." He picked up the chalice and moved to the pool. He bent down, agonizingly slow, but eventually he filled the cup and shuffled over to me. "Drink the water," he told me, a grin playing upon his old and papery lips as he pushed the cup into my hand. "The water will enter you, and your secret will replace it in the water. No man can discern its murky depths." His smile was now so wide I thought his face might crack open. "But be warned. Once I have taken custody of your secret, you can never reveal it. No one will ever know, but there will be no confidence, or confession, or chance of redemption. Are you sure this is the path you wish to take?" "I am." I didn't even hesitate. "No one can know, for both our sakes." old man shrugged and took a step back. I raised the cold steel to my face, but before I could drink, curiosity gripped me. Why do you take other people's secrets? In the world of the blind, he laughed, raspy and throaty, and tapped at his missing eye. The man with one eye is king. And I knew exactly what he meant. For you, Em, I thought, as I downed my morbid toast. I dropped the chalice and left without a word, knowing now that she was safe. As I walked out of Greywater Gardens, I looked down at the putrid pond and remembered it wasn't the water that was grey at all, but her face as I held her frail body down in the bathtub. Another bouquet of flowers showed up today. That's the third this week. They're beautiful flowers, they really are. Roses and lilies, bursts of color and baby's breath. Lovely arrangements that would make anyone happy to receive. Yet, every time they arrive, I can't help but feel a stab of fear. I guess I should explain. This all started back in college, when I started dating this guy. We'll call him Mike. He was a nice enough guy, we just weren't really compatible. I don't know, it didn't work out for the same reason many things in college don't work out. And I never would have given it a second thought, or even really remember him at all, if it weren't for the flowers. The first bouquet showed up the week after our last date, after I texted him to say, this isn't working out. They were vibrant blue chrysanthemums and white roses, and they came with no note or explanation. They merely appeared on the welcome mat in front of my apartment door. I waited for him to try and follow up, to get back together with me, but he never did. I even texted him to thank him for the flowers, and he insisted he didn't send them. But of course he'd say that. But then, in a few weeks, another bouquet arrived. And then another. The week after that, a third. And pretty soon, the flowers were coming every week. When I moved out of my apartment, they were waiting for me at my new address. When I got a job in a different state, they arrived at my workplace, placed cheerfully on my desk. I called and texted Mike, trying to get him to stop, but I kept getting a message failed, or this number has been disconnected. I guess he changed his number. Maybe he didn't want me calling to harass him. The flowers kept coming, and I started to get creeped out. How did he know where I lived? How did he keep finding me? I changed my phone number. I moved. I became meticulous about hiding my identity online. I called the florist and begged them to put me on a no-deliver list. I even called the police and tried to file a report that I was being stalked. Let me tell you, trying to get the police to do something about a guy delivering you flowers, not an easy task. But nothing I did could keep the flowers from coming. They just kept showing up every week, and then twice a week, for nearly 3 years now. No matter where I live or where I work, somehow the flowers just keep coming. Which brings us to today, and the newest bouquet. Usually, when I get them, I'm exasperated or a little uneasy, or just plain mad. But lately, I've been getting more and more scared. Because I was on Facebook the other day, prowling through friends of friends and old classmates, snooping around the way you do when you've had a couple of drinks and a free evening. And I found Mike's Facebook page. It was covered in memorial and mourning messages. Because Mike's been dead for nearly 3 years. always with you. I was there from the time you were born. I stood in the delivery room, staring down at you before you could even open your eyes to see me. Your parents, relatives, and doctors couldn't see me there, in the corner, watching you with cloudy eyes, but I was there from the time you were born. And I followed you home. I was with you always, your constant companion. You played with your toys alone, while I stared from all angles and nearby mirrors, my matted, clotted hair with oily sweat that hung off my dented forehead like glue. I was always your constant companion, drifting behind your mother's car on your ride to preschool. You alone in the bathroom, but I was on the other side of the door, wind whistling through the bruised hole in my throat. My arms twisted and hanging in their sockets as I stood hunched on the other side of the shower curtain. I wait and follow you. I follow and drift behind you. I'm not seen. I'm almost not there in light. You never saw me that morning as I sat across from you at the breakfast table, a shiny red cloth hanging from an empty tooth socket as I gaped grotesquely at you. I wonder sometimes if you know I'm there. I think you are aware, but you never understand just how close I am. I spend hours of your day doing nothing more than breathing in your ear. Breathing, gagging really. I crave to be close to you, to always wrap my crippled arms around your neck. I lie near you every single night, cloudy eyes staring at your ceiling, underneath your bed, at your sleeping face in the dark. Yes, you caught me staring occasionally. Your parents came running down to your room one night when you screamed. You were just beginning to talk, so you were only able to cry out, "Man! Man in my room!" You thought you'd never forget the sight of me, with my collapsed jaw hanging to my chest, swinging back and forth. I sank back into your closet and your mother was unable to see me, though you pointed and pointed and pointed. You thought you'd never forget when they left that same night. You saw the closet door crack so softly, and me crawling across the floor to your bed, on all fours, shambling in jerking movements as I pushed myself onto your bed on disjointed limbs. You learned a new word for me. Boogeyman. Not quite the monster you thought I was. I'm just waiting and following you, always, touching your face with my knotted fingers as you sleep. You'll see me again soon. Any day now. I'm coming, blunt and brutal. One day you'll walk across the road and I believe I plow into you with a loud roar and a screech. You rolling on the pavement, rolling under wheels, blunt force metal fenders, and my finger touching your face again and again. As you stare up from the cold pavement with cloudy eyes, your matted, clotted hair hanging in your face, and your jaw unhinged and swinging to your chest. You'll see me approaching. No one else will see me. You will stare past them into my eyes, and I leer down at you. For the first time in our life, something like a smile would come over my face. You swear you're looking into a mirror as clotted red bubbles form around our mouths. I lean down, past the doctors and the ogling people, and pick you up in my crooked arms. Our faces will touch, my wings will unfurl, and then you'll have to follow me. And I am always with you. I am your guardian angel. This is a game where participants get the chance to meet the twin they've never known in life. It's a simple game to play, but the repercussions impressions can be overwhelming. The twin is a reflection of who you really are, not who you pretend to be. If you're a genuinely good person, your twin encounter would be a pleasant and gratifying experience. But if you're a bad person, someone who bullies, lies, steals, cheats, manipulates, or hurts other people, then your experience will be dark and painful. In order to play the game, you require the following: an empty closet, a lit candle, and a mirror. To start, hang the mirror, any size will do, on the wall in the closet. Be sure to hang it on the wall across from the closet door, so the door is being reflected when closed. With the candle already lit, walk into the closet and shut the door behind you. Look at the mirror. You'll see a reflection of yourself in the closed door. Knock on the mirror twice, just as if you're trying to knock on the closet door. Blow out the candle and knock on the mirror 2 more times. You'll hear the closet door open, but the door behind you is still shut. Next, you'll hear a breathing. The game has begun. In a calm voice, greet your twin with a simple hello and wait for the response. Afterwards, ask a simple yes or no question. They will answer. The twin will respond in one of 2 ways: a kind response or a hostile response. Good people will receive a kind hello in return for their greeting. Ask your question and your answer will be whispered back to you. Shortly after, a sense of warmth and comfort will overcome the player. The sound of a door shutting will signal the end of the game, as your twin has made contact, passed on their message, and left the closet. Bad people will receive an angry, animalistic snarl in response. If you try to ask a question, you will be answered with scratches or bites from your twin. A bone-chilling cold will fill the closet, and a sense of impending doom will bring about an unshakable feeling of dread that will linger for hours. You'll hear the sound of the closet door slamming shut, and the mirror will fall off the wall, shattering into pieces. When you leave the closet, be sure to take the mirror with you, intact or broken. If you leave the mirror behind,